Okay, here we are at the bottom of page 3, or the second part of page 3 here. I know we're kind of in the middle of the actual physical page. Looking at number 74, let's do this one together. What's different about this one? Well, we've got the two pieces in the bottom. That's what we're learning how to do right now. It's rationalized by the conjugate. But there's also stuff going on the top. Don't be distracted by what's happening on the top. The top can be anything it wants to be. Focus on the denominator. Right? And we're going to multiply by the conjugate. In this case, it's going to be 5 plus radical 3. Okay, so these are opposites. So we're going to focus on the denominator and multiply top and bottom by the conjugate. So remember, top and bottom that we're multiplying by, these have to be the same. Okay. Now I'm going to write this out a little bit, because what we're going to get on the top is going to be 5 plus radical 3 times 5 plus radical 3. Again, don't be concerned about the fact that they aren't opposites on the top. We're not trying to make the top into nice numbers. The top could be anything it wants to be. It's the bottom that we need to have made into nice numbers here. So the bottom is going to be looking like 5 minus radical 3 times 5 plus radical 3. Okay? And now we get to FOIL each of those. So on the top, we've got 5, as we go first times first, outside times outside, inside times inside, last times last. So first times first, you're going to get 5 times 5, or 25. And then you're going to get on the outsides plus a 5 radical 3. The inside, radical 3 times 5 is another 5 radical 3. I didn't quite give myself enough room here. And then I've got radical 3 times radical 3 as my last times last. Okay. And we'll just continue working with the top here. 5 times 5 is going to be 25. And so that's actually, let's see if I can make this a little easier to see here. 5 times 5 is going to be 25. Radical 3 times radical 3 is radical 9, which is the same as 3. So what we've got on the top here is 25 plus 3. That's going to be 28. 5 radical 3 plus another 5 radical 3 is going to be 10 radical 3. So that's how the top works itself out after all the multiplying. Now on the bottom, again, we have first times first, outside times outside, inside times inside, last times last, and we deliberately set it up so that the conjugate would create the outside inside to be opposites and cancel. So let's look at what that looks like. 5 times 5. We've got outside outside plus 5 radical 3. Inside inside is going to be a minus 5 radical 3. And then on the last times last, watch this, you've got a negative times a positive. That's going to be a negative radical 3 times radical 3. And let's simplify this just a little bit. Your 5 times 5 is going to give you 25. Resist the urge to cancel. We're not in the family of multiplication. We've got some addition going on, so resist that urge. Follow this out all the way through. 5 radical 3 and a minus 5 radical 3 cancel each other out. Minus radical 3 times radical 3 is a minus radical 9, which is the same as saying minus 3. So on the bottom, we have 25 minus 3, which is just going to be 22. Now, in this case, you actually can simplify this a little bit more, okay? Because everything does have a factor of 2 here. So let's look at this just a little bit more carefully. Think of this as undistributing this factor of 2. You see how 28's an even, 10's an even, 22 is an even? It's as if you could undistribute that 2 on the top, leaving behind a 14 plus 5 radical 3. Imagine redistributing that 2. Now you've got multiplication here. 2 times 14 is 28. 2 times 5 radical 3 is 2 times 5 is 10 radical 3. On the bottom, 22 is the same as 2 times 11. And now notice these parentheses indicate that we've got multiplication here. And now you've got a matching factor of 2, top and bottom. Those can cancel, and your final answer is going to be 14 plus 5 radical 3, the whole thing over 11. 14 plus 5 radical 3, the whole thing over 11. I'm going to adjust the screen down a little bit so we can see that last one that you're going to try on your own. I've got a radical 3 on top. This is number 62. Radical 3 plus 1 on the bottom. Remember, we're in the part where you're looking at multiplying by conjugates. What's different about this one than the 2 we've done already on the page? The first one had a plain old 1 at the top of the fraction to begin with. The second one had a little bit more complicated 2 pieces being added together. This third one now has just a single radical on the top. Does not change what our focus is. Our focus is on the denominator. It has 2 things being added together. To get rid of that radical in our terms of rationalizing, we're going to have to multiply both top and bottom by the conjugate of the denominator. So copy the notes, talk it through with somebody, and when you think, note any questions so you can bring them to class, and then when you think you're ready, pause the video and try number 62. Okay, and your final result here for number 62, once it's all rationalized and simplified, is going to be 3 minus radical 3 in the numerator, the whole thing over 2. And again, I've just assigned one of the application exercises for this section. Because we're in the section on rationalizing the denominator, you can expect that that's what you're going to do as a part of that application exercise. You're going to be rationalizing the denominator. Okay. And of course, we'll finish things out with some review and then some preview exercises. And that takes care of the lessons for this set. Go ahead and attempt the problem sets, and again, bring those questions to your help resource or to class time, and we'll take care of you with whatever you still are wondering about. Okay, see you then.